I made the decision to visit my husband's mistress in the hospital. I needed to see her, face to face, to look directly into her eyes and understand what she had that I didn't. But when I pushed open that hospital room door, everything I thought I knew shattered. The bag slipped from my trembling hands and my world came crashing down with it. But what I found in that room was a secret so twisted, it changed everything. I want to pause here. I'm so grateful you're here with me today on Golden Age Stories. If you're watching this, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I need you to tell me in the comments which city you're listening to this story of revenge from. I want to know just how far this message has traveled, because what I'm about to share with you, it needs to be heard. The hospital corridors stretched endlessly before me that Tuesday afternoon, each step echoing against the polished linoleum, like a countdown to my own execution. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting that cold, sterile glow that makes everything look sickly and unreal. I clutched my leather purse against my chest, like armor, my knuckles white from gripping the strap so tightly that my wedding ring, 32 years on my finger, cut into my skin. Room 314. I had memorized that number like a prayer, like a curse. It had taken me 3 weeks to work up the courage to come here. 3 weeks of sleepless nights and untouched meals. 3 weeks of watching my husband Corey slip away from me, one lie at a time. But I was done being the fool. I was done pretending I didn't know. The scent of disinfectant burned my nostrils as I stood outside her door. Keisha Williams, 28 years old? That's all I knew about the woman who had been sharing my husband's bed for God knows how long. 28. I was already 30 when I married Corey, already building the foundation of what I thought would be our forever. She wasn't even born yet. My hand trembled as I reached for the door handle. Through the small rectangular window, I could see the edge of a hospital bed. White sheets, pristine and tucked tight. I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my mirror at home. I would walk in with dignity, my head held high. I would look at her, really look at her, and I would ask her one simple question. Was he worth destroying a family for? I studied my breathing the way I'd learned during 30 years as a registered nurse. In through the nose, out through the mouth. You've seen worse than this, Christine. You've held dying patients' hands. You've delivered news that shattered families. You can handle looking at one home-wrecking girl in a hospital bed. But nothing could have prepared me for what I saw when I pushed open that door. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, casting a golden glow across the room, like some twisted romantic movie scene. And there, sitting on the edge of the hospital bed, was my husband, my Corey. The man who had kissed me goodbye that morning and told me he was going to the office to catch up on paperwork. The man who had been working late every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 6 months. He was holding a plastic spoon, carefully feeding applesauce to the woman lying in the bed. But it wasn't just the feeding that stopped my heart. It was the tenderness in his movements, the way he dabbed at the corner of her mouth with a napkin, the soft murmur of his voice as he whispered something that made her smile. A smile I recognized. It was the same smile he used to give me when I was sick with the flu during our first year of marriage. The same gentle attention he'd shown me when I had my gallbladder surgery 5 years ago. And there, catching the light as he lifted the spoon to her lips, was the watch. The anniversary watch. The one I had saved for 3 months to buy him last year. Working extra shifts at the hospital, skipping lunches, just to see his face light up on our 31st anniversary. The inscription on the back read, "Forever yours, Christine." He was wearing it while he fed another woman. Leisha wasn't what I had expected. She wasn't some glamorous temptress. She looked young, vulnerable, with her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and no makeup on her face. She looked like someone's daughter. She looked like someone I might have cared for as a patient. And the way Corey was looking at her, God help me, he was looking at her the way he used to look at me. My purse slipped from my numb fingers. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. My wallet, my keys, my reading glasses, all scattering across the hospital floor in a symphony of betrayal. Corey's head snapped toward the door, the spoon frozen halfway to Hilkesha's mouth. His eyes met mine across that sterile room, and I watched 32 years of marriage die in the space of a heartbeat. His mouth opened, closed, opened again, like a fish gasping for air. Christine, But I was already backing away, my hand fumbling for the doorframe behind me. I couldn't breathe. The antiseptic smell was choking me. The fluorescent lights were too bright. The sound of my own heartbeat was deafening in my ears. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to be the one in control. I was supposed to confront her. Not him, not like this. Not seeing him care for her the way he had once cared for me. I turned and ran. My nursing shoes squeaked against the linoleum as I fled down the endless corridor, past the nurse's station where my colleagues would have recognized me, past the visitors clutching flowers and balloons, past all the normal people living their normal lives, while mine exploded behind me in room 314. I didn't stop running until I reached my car in the parking garage. Only then did I allow myself to fall apart, gripping the steering wheel as sobs tore through my chest like daggers. 32 years. 32 years of cooking his favorite meals, ironing his shirts, supporting his dreams, raising his children, building his home. 32 years, and he was feeding applesauce to a girl young enough to be our daughter. But as I sat there in that dim parking garage, something shifted inside me. The tears stopped, the shaking stopped, and for the first time in months, my mind became crystal clear. I went to that hospital to look my husband's mistress in the eye, but what I saw in that room changed everything, because I realized that this wasn't just about an affair. This was about a man who could sit beside another woman's hospital bed and tend to her with the same hands that had once promised to cherish only me. This was about betrayal so deep, so complete, that it required something more than tears. It required strategy, and lucky for me, I had just learned exactly what I was up against, and he had no idea who he was messing with. But let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand what was destroyed in that hospital room. You need to know what 32 years of devotion looks like, when it crumbles in a single moment. I met Corey when I was 28, fresh out of nursing school and working the night shift at County General. He was 26, a first-year law student with holes in his shoes and dreams bigger than his empty wallet. He used to come into the hospital cafeteria at 2:00 in the morning, nursing a single cup of coffee for 3 hours while he studied. I thought he was homeless at first. Just poor. He told me that first night I approached him with an extra sandwich, but not for long. I believed him. More than that, I invested in him. While other women my age were dating men with established careers, I was falling in love with potential. I was working 60-hour weeks as a nurse while Corey buried himself in law books. And I didn't mind. When his student loans weren't enough to cover both tuition and rent, I picked up extra shifts. When he needed suits for interviews, I shopped clearance racks and learned to tailor them myself. When he was too stressed to cook or clean or remember to eat, I became his everything. You're building our future. I used to tell myself during those exhausting double shifts, this sacrifice means something. For 3 years, I lived on 4 hours of sleep and instant ramen so Corey could focus on becoming the lawyer he dreamed of being. I watched him graduate from the same hospital cafeteria where we met, tears streaming down my face. He found me in the crowd afterward, lifted me up and spun me around and whispered in my ear, "We did it, baby. We actually did it." We got married 2 months later. Those early years of his career were lean but hopeful. We lived in a tiny apartment with paper-thin walls. But we were building something together. I kept working nights so I could be awake when he came home. He was working at a small firm then, learning the ropes and dreaming of partnership. "One day we'll have a house," he promised me. "A real house with a garden for you and an office for me. We'll fill it with kids and laughter." I believed every word. By the time Corey made partner 8 years later, we had our house. We had our children too. Marcus and Jasmine. I switched to day shift so I could be home with them in the evenings. creating the life we'd both dreamed of. Those were the golden years. Corey would come home from the office and tell me about his cases over dinner. We went on family vacations to Disney World, took Christmas card photos in matching sweaters. I thought we had made it. I thought we were living proof that love and hard work could build something lasting. But children grow up, dreams evolve, and apparently, so do the people you build your life around. Marcus graduated college 3 years ago. Jasmine finished her master's degree last. Spring. Suddenly, our 4-bedroom house felt huge and quiet. The dinner table. Now seated 2 people who seemed to have run out of things to say to each other. This is our time now, I told Corey. We can travel. Remember what it was like before kids. But instead of growing closer, we seemed to drift further apart. It started with small things. Corey began working later. He changed his phone password. He started buying expensive cologne, styling his graying hair differently. When I complimented his new look, he brushed off my comments. Just trying to stay current. He'd mumble, avoiding my eyes. The late nights became routine. He'd come home after I was already in bed, slip under the covers, smelling like that new cologne. In the morning, he'd be gone before I woke up. Our conversations became functional. The lawn needs cutting. Your mother called. Don't wait up tonight. We moved around each other like polite strangers sharing the same space. And when I tried to address it, he accused me of being clingy. We're not 20-somethings anymore, Christine, he said. We don't need to be attached at the hip. But I wasn't asking to be attached at the hip. I was asking to feel like his wife, instead of his housekeeper. The final warning sign came 6 months ago. I had surprised him at his office with lunch. His secretary, Mrs. Patterson, looked confused when I introduced myself. Mrs. Jones? But I thought... She caught herself, her face flushing red. Oh, you're Corey's wife. Of course. He's in a meeting right now. Through his office window, I could see him on the phone, alone, laughing. It was the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from him in months. Genuine, delighted. When he saw me standing there, his face fell. Christine, what are you doing here? Not, what a nice surprise. Just confusion and something that looked almost like annoyance. I should have demanded answers then. I should have confronted the growing distance. But I was a nurse, trained to care for others before myself. I was a mother, programmed to keep the peace. I was a wife who had spent 32 years believing love and loyalty were enough. So I handed him his lunch with a smile, kissed his cheek, and pretended not to notice how quickly he pulled away. That's what 32 years of devotion looks like when it's taken for granted. You become invisible in your own life. You work and sacrifice, until you've given so much of yourself away that there's barely anything left. But that day in the hospital, watching my husband feed applesauce to another woman while wearing the watch I'd saved months to buy him, that was the day I remembered who I used to be before I became Corey's everything. That was the day I decided to take myself back. But taking yourself back requires knowing exactly what you're taking yourself back from. And that meant I had to stop being willfully blind to what was happening in my own marriage. It started with his phone. For 32 years, Corey and I had shared everything. So when he suddenly became protective of his phone, my nursing instincts kicked in. Something was wrong. The opportunity came 3 weeks after that disastrous office visit, leaving his phone charging on the kitchen counter. My heart pounded as I picked it up. I entered what I hoped was still his passcode. Our wedding anniversary. It worked. I scrolled through his contacts. Most of the names were familiar, but then I saw it. Tucked between Larry, Jim, and Mom. Lakesha with a heart emoji. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't paranoia. This was confirmation. I quickly memorized the number. When Corey returned, I was folding laundry, acting like the beautiful wife who suspected nothing. How was your meeting? Fine, just fine. Client emergency. You know how it is. But I was beginning to suspect I didn't know how anything was anymore. The next day, while Corey was at work, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through his things. Investigating. I started with his dresser. In the back of his sock drawer, I found them. Receipts. Dozens of them. All from jewelry stores I'd never been to. Tiffany earrings, won $200. Pandora bracelet, $850. A necklace, $2,300. The dates went back 8 months. Thousands of dollars. Money from our joint account. Money I'd helped earn. But the receipt that nearly broke me was the smallest one. A simple gold chain. Purchased just 2 weeks ago. Written on the back in Corey's handwriting was a note. 4L. Until you're feeling better. Love always, see. Love always. I sat on our bed and felt something die inside my chest. This wasn't just physical betrayal. This was emotional intimacy, financial deception, and something that looked suspiciously like love. That night I pretended to read, but I was actually listening. Around 10:00 his phone rang, and I heard him answer in a voice I hadn't heard him use with me in years. Soft, concerned. "Hey, beautiful. How are you feeling tonight?" I gripped my book. I know. I wish I could be there too, but visiting hours are almost over, and you need your rest." Visiting hours. My blood turned to ice. The doctor said, "What?" No, that's normal. You're going to be fine. I promise. I'll be there first thing tomorrow morning." He was worried. "Leisha, listen to me. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. I'm not going anywhere. You hear me?" The call lasted 20 more minutes. 3 hung up. I heard him typing furiously. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened as he made another call. "Dr. Martinez, Corey Jones. I'm calling about Leisha Williams. Yes, I'm her emergency contact. Emergency contact." The words hit me like a physical blow. In all our years of marriage, I had been Corey's emergency contact. He had been mine. It was one of those small details that meant everything. The person who would be called if something terrible happened. The person trusted to make life or death decisions. And he had given that role to someone else. The next morning after Corey left, I called in sick to the hospital. Instead of caring for patients, I was about to become my own detective. I had a name, a phone number, and knowledge that this Ilkesha person was in a medical situation. It was time to find out exactly what I was dealing with. I drove to the courthouse where Corey worked. 10:30 a.m. I watched my husband walk out, get in his car, and drive in the opposite direction of home. I followed him, my heart pounding. He led me straight to Mercy General Hospital. I watched as he walked through the main entrance carrying flowers and a small gift bag. He moved with purpose. This wasn't his first visit. I waited 15 minutes, then followed him inside. The elevator stopped on the 3rd floor. Cardiac and trauma recovery. At the nurse's station, I used my professional credentials to access the patient directory. I'm looking for a patient named Leisha Williams. I'm Christine Jones from County General, and her family asked me to check on her. Oh yes, room 314. Poor thing was in a terrible car accident 2 weeks ago. Her fiancé has been here every day. Such a devoted man. Her fiancé. The floor tilted beneath my feet. Yes, very devoted, I managed to say. Are you family too? The nurse asked kindly. I looked down the hall toward room 314, where my husband was, holding her hand. Something like that, I said. As I walked back to my car, everything clicked into place. Corey wasn't just having an affair. He was living a double life. And worse, he was playing the role of devoted partner to a woman in the hospital, while his actual wife sat at home, completely unaware she'd been replaced. But here's what Corey didn't know about the woman he'd married 32 years ago. Nurses are trained observers. We notice details, track patterns, and we don't give up when a patient's life is on the line. And my life was definitely on the line. That night, I sat at my kitchen table. This was systematic deception, but I needed more information. The next morning, I called the hospital back. I'm trying to coordinate flowers for Leisha Williams. Can you tell me what name to put on the card for her husband? Oh, you mean Corey? Corey Jones. Such a sweet man. He's been here every single day. He even sleeps in that uncomfortable chair sometimes. You can tell how much he loves her. He was using his real name. He wasn't even bothering to create a false identity. They make such a lovely couple, the nurse continued. He told me they're planning to get married once she recovers fully. After 2 years together, he said it's time to make it official. Years. The phone nearly slipped from my numb fingers. 2 years? I managed to whisper. Yes, that's what he told Dr. Martinez. They've been together for 2 years. He's been taking care of her through some difficult times. Financial stress, family issues. But he stood by her through everything. That's real love. I hung up without another word. 2 years meant this started when Jasmine was finishing her master's degree. 2 years meant he'd been building a life with another woman, while I was planning our empty nest phase. 2 years meant every late night, every time he'd been too tired for conversation. He'd been saving his energy for her. But I still needed proof. Concrete, undeniable evidence. That afternoon, I hired a private investigator. And not just any private investigator. I called my sister, Maya. Maya had always been the tough one. While I went into nursing, she became a private investigator to expose lies. We'd grown apart, partly because Corey never liked her. Now I understood why. Calls, the jewelry receipts, the hospital visits. 2 years, she said finally. This isn't some midlife crisis affair, Christine. This is a parallel life. Give me 48 hours. I'll find out everything there is to know about Lexia Williams. Maya worked fast. Christine, you need to sit down for this, she said. Her full name is Lexia Williams, 28 years old. But here's what's going to hurt, sis. I found an apartment lease. My blood turned to ice. What kind of lease? A 2-bedroom apartment on Maple Street. Both their names are on it. Corey Jones and Elkesha Williams. The lease started 23 months ago, and the rent is $1,800 a month. He's been paying for it out of an account I traced back to your joint savings. That was over $40,000 of our money. Money I'd helped earn. There's more, Maya continued gently. I talked to some neighbors. They know him as Elkesha's boyfriend, then fiancé. He's there most weekends, helping her with household repairs, acting like a living partner. So he's been maintaining 2 households, 2 lives. It gets worse, Christine. The car accident. I pulled the police report. The emergency room intake form lists her as engaged to Corey Jones. He filed that paperwork himself. I sat in that grocery store parking lot. This wasn't just betrayal. This was systematic replacement. What are you thinking? Maya asked softly. I'm thinking, I said slowly, that for 32 years I've been playing by rules that only I was following. What do you want to do about it? The old Christine would have cried and pleaded and tried to win back a man. But sitting in that parking lot, I realized something important. I didn't want him back. I wanted justice. I want to expose him, I said. I want everyone who thinks he's this devoted, loving man to see exactly who he really is. I want consequences, real ones. Now you're talking like my sister, Maya said. But we're going to be smart about this. We're going to gather everything. Financial records, documentation of his lies. And then we're going to take him apart, piece by piece. What do you need from me? Access to your financial records. And I need you to act completely normal. Can you do that? Can you smile and play the loving wife? I thought about the man who would come home tonight, who would expect me to heat up his dinner. I can do that, I said. I've been playing the loving wife for 2 years while he built a life with someone else. I can keep playing it for a few more weeks. Good, because when we're done, Corey Jones is going to learn what happens when you underestimate a woman. We're about to show him that nurses know how to fight. Your own life, Christine. Your dignity. Your financial security. Your future. Everything he tried to steal from you while you weren't looking. As I drove home to cook dinner, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Not hope that my marriage could be saved. That died in the hospital room. But hope that I could survive this. Hope that I could come out stronger. And hope that Corey Jones was about to learn exactly what kind of woman he'd been betraying for 2 years. Maya and I spent 3 days planning. The performance of your lifetime. We needed Corey to believe I was broken, defeated, and out of the way. The goal was to create an opening for him to make the kind of mistake that would give us everything we needed for court. Men like Corey get comfortable in their lies, Maya explained. He's been managing 2 lives for 2 years. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. We're going to use that arrogance against him. The plan was elegant. I would stage a breakdown, tell Corey I needed space, and leave the house. But instead, I'd be watching, recording, documenting every move he made when he thought he was free. The key is selling the vulnerability, Maya said. You need to seem fragile, not suspicious. Defeated, not angry. Can you do that? Looking at my reflection, I barely recognized myself. I've been practicing defeated for 32 years, I said. I think I can manage it. We placed cameras in 5 strategic locations. The living room, kitchen, master bedroom. Remember, Maya said, once you leave that house, you cannot go back until we have what we need. No matter what you see, no matter how angry you get, you have to let him hang himself with his own choices. Friday evening, I waited until Corey came home from his latest hospital visit. He looked tired, emotionally drained. Corey, we need to talk, I said. He froze in the doorway. About what? About us. About our marriage. About why I feel like I'm living with a stranger. I'd rehearsed this speech with Maya. Christine, what are you talking about? He sat across from me, defensive, guarded. You're never here anymore. We don't talk. We don't connect. We barely touch. I let my voice crack. I feel like I'm losing you, and I don't understand why. That's ridiculous. I'm working hard to secure our future. Our future? I looked directly into his eyes. What future, Corey? When was the last time we talked about traveling, or anything beyond your work schedule? He shifted. We're going through an adjustment period. Things change. That's exactly what I'm afraid of, I said, allowing tears to well in my eyes. I'm afraid we've changed so much that there's nothing left to save. For a moment, something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe? But it disappeared. What do you want me to say, Christine? I want you to tell me if there's any point in fighting for this marriage. If you still love me, or if I'm just convenient. Corey looked down at his hands and made a choice. Not the choice to confess, but the choice to take the easy way out. Maybe some time apart would be good for both of us. He said finally, give us space to figure out what we really want. The ease with which he agreed told me everything. You're right, I whispered, wiping at my eyes. Maybe I should stay with Maya for a while, just until we both get some clarity. How long are you thinking? I don't know. A week, 2 weeks. However long it takes. He nodded, already mentally planning what he'd do with an empty house. That sounds reasonable. I packed a bag the next morning. I hugged him goodbye, playing the role of the confused, heartbroken wife. Take care of yourself, I said, meaning it in ways he couldn't possibly understand. You too. Call me if you need anything. As I drove away from our house, I felt something unexpected. Excitement. I was fighting back. Maya had rented a small apartment 2 blocks away. We'd set up a command center in the living room. Now we wait, Maya said, and we watch your husband show you exactly who he really is. We didn't have to wait long. 2:30 p.m. on Sunday, less than 24 hours after I'd left. I watched Corey's car pull into our driveway, but he wasn't alone. I saw him helping a young woman out of the passenger seat. She moved carefully, recovering from injury. Kesha Williams was finally seeing our house. Deep breaths, Maya said. Remember, we need him to make mistakes. The bigger, the better. I watched my husband help another woman up the front steps of our home. I watched him unlock the door and guide her inside. I watched him give her a tour of the house I decorated, showing her photos of our children, our life. But the moment that broke something was when the bedroom camera activated. I watched Corey lead little Kesha into our master bedroom. I watched him help her sit on my side of the bed. I watched him bring her water. I watched him kiss her forehead. He's making her comfortable, I said, my voice hollow. He's making a mistake, Maya corrected. A big one. Adultery is one thing, but bringing his mistress into the marital home, that's abandonment. That's intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's evidence. On the monitor, I watched Corey tuck blankets around Lakesha. I watched him stroke her hair. I watched my husband treat another woman like she was his wife, in the bed where he'd promised to forsake all others. How long do we let this go on? I asked. Maya looked at the monitors. As long as it takes, she said. He's giving us a gift, Christine. He's documenting his own betrayal. All we have to do is let him keep talking. And talk? He did. Over the next 3 days, those cameras captured conversations that would haunt me forever and give me everything I needed to take my life back. The first morning was almost bearable. I watched Corey bring Leksha breakfast in bed, our bed, and help her with her medication. It hurt, but I was still a nurse. I could appreciate compassionate care. But by the second day, what I was witnessing wasn't caregiving anymore. It was replacement. Oh my God. Maya breathed, pointing at the bedroom monitor. Is she going through your jewelry box? I watched as Kesha sat at my vanity, systematically trying on my jewelry. She held up my pearl earrings, the ones Corey had given me for our 25th anniversary. She fastened my grandmother's gold bracelet around her wrist. These are beautiful, she said to Corey. Where did they come from? Just some old things that were left here, he said casually. The previous owner had terrible taste, but a few pieces are worth keeping. Previous owner. The words hit me. I wasn't his wife. I was just some previous owner who'd left behind unwanted belongings. Well, I love this bracelet, Lakesha said. Then it's yours, Corey said. Everything in that box is yours now. I gripped the arms of my chair. We're recording everything, she reminded me quietly. Let him keep talking. Over the next hour, I watched Lakesha explore my house. She stood in front of our family photo wall. 32 years of memories. Who are all these people? She asked Corey. He glanced at the photos. Just some old family stuff. We'll replace all of this with our own memories. Our own memories. This woman appears in a lot of them, Lakesha said, pointing to a picture of me. That's Christine, Corey said. She's just someone I used to know. She lived here before, but that's all over now. Someone he used to know. I had supported this man through law school, raised his children, built his home, shared his bed for 32 years, and I was just someone he used to know. She's pretty, Lakesha said, studying me at our wedding. I was 28 then. What happened to her? She got old, Corey said with a shrug. Some people just don't age well. They get comfortable. Stop taking care of themselves. Stop being interesting. You know how it is. I looked down at my hands that had worked countless double shifts to support his dreams, hands that had changed his children's diapers, hands that had cared for thousands of patients, hands that showed the evidence of a life spent caring for others. Well, her loss is my gain, Lakesha said, and I watched her take down our wedding photo and set it aside. This house needs a complete makeover. Everything is so dated. That's exactly what I was thinking, Corey agreed. Or we could sell this old place and start fresh, somewhere that's just ours. The casual way they discussed dismantling my life was breathtaking in its cruelty, but I forced myself to keep watching. In the kitchen, she opened cabinets and critiqued my dishes. These plates are hideous. We'll donate all of this and start over. Those coffee mugs represented years of family breakfasts. Souvenirs, gifts from the children. To Lakesha, they were just clutter. But the moment that truly broke my heart came when she discovered my nursing uniforms. What are these awful things? She asked, holding up one of my scrubs. Work clothes, Corey said dismissively. Christine was a nurse. Not exactly a glamorous profession. Not exactly glamorous. 30 years of saving lives, comforting families. Well, these need to go immediately, Leisha said, pulling my uniforms from their hangers. The whole closet smells like hospital. I watched her bundle my scrubs into a trash bag. Once we get rid of all this old stuff, we can really make this place ours, she said. New furniture. Maybe knock down some walls. Whatever you want, baby, Corey said. This is your house now. Your house now. But the worst was yet to come. On the third day, I watched Lakeshire discover my nursing awards in the Home Office. Certificates of recognition. A plaque honoring my 30 years of service. Look at all these dusty old certificates, she said. Who keeps this kind of junk? Christine was always sentimental about meaningless things, he replied. She never knew how to let go of the past. I watched Elkesha gather my awards, recognition for decades of dedicated service, and dump them into a garbage bag. 30 years of professional achievement, thrown away like expired coupons. There, she said. Much better. We can put our vacation photos here instead. Our vacation photos from trips they'd apparently been taking. You know what? Keisha continued. We should take down all these family pictures, too. I don't want to look at some other woman's life every day. Good point, Corey agreed. Let's box up all the old photos. Maybe donate them or something. I watched my husband help another woman erase every trace of our life together. Wedding photos, baby pictures. 32 years of memories packed away. This is so exciting, Lakesha said. It's like we're creating our own little world here. Our own little world, Corey repeated, pulling her into his arms. Just you and me, and no baggage from the past. No baggage from the past. That's what I was to him now. Just baggage, to be disposed of. I can't watch any more of this, I said, standing up. Yes, you can, Maya said firmly, because in 3 days, we've recorded enough evidence to take him for everything he's worth. Adultery, abandonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress and financial fraud. He's handed us a divorce case that will make legal history. She was right. As painful as it was, Corey was destroying himself with every casual cruelty. What happens next? I asked. Maya smiled. Next, we remind her husband that the woman he's been dismissing as someone he used to know is about to become someone he'll never forget. But before we could plan our confrontation, Maya insisted we needed to understand everything about Lakesha's hospitalization. Something doesn't add up, she said. Car accidents don't usually result in psychiatric evaluations, and Corey became her emergency contact exactly 2 weeks before the accident. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we need the full medical records. And lucky for us, you have access to hospital databases that most people don't. She was right. Through 30 years as a registered nurse, I had professional relationships at every major hospital in the city. More importantly, I had legitimate access to medical records, a privilege I'd never abused in 3 decades, until now. The next morning, I called my former colleague, Sarah Martinez. Christine, what a surprise. I heard you were taking some time off. Everything okay? Family issues, I said. Sarah, I need a favor. A professional consultation. I need to review medical records for a patient named Lakesha Williams, admitted about 3 weeks ago. There was a pause. Christine, you know I can't just pull random patient files. What's your connection? Her emergency contact is someone I know personally. I'm concerned about family dynamics that might affect her recovery and safety. It wasn't the full truth, but it wasn't a complete lie. Give me 20 minutes, she said. I'll pull the file and call you back. Those 20 minutes felt like hours. When Sarah called back, her voice was different. Professional, careful, concerned. Christine, I pulled the file. I think you need to see this in person. Can you come to the hospital? An hour later, I sat in Sarah's office. What I saw made my blood run cold. The initial report listed this as a motor vehicle accident, Sarah said. Single car collision. Patient found unconscious. But look at the intake notes. I read the doctor's handwriting. Patient regained consciousness. When questioned, patient became agitated and stated, "I just wanted it to stop hurting. Significant emotional distress noted. Psychiatric consultation recommended. Keep reading," Sarah said quietly. The psychiatric evaluation was damning. Patient reports 2-year relationship with married man who refuses to leave his wife. States she has been living in limbo. Admits to feelings of hopelessness. My eyes scanned down. When asked directly about the accident, patient broke down and admitted, "I couldn't take waiting anymore. I thought if something happened to me, he'd finally realize how much he loved me." My hand shook. Suicide attempt by intentional vehicle collision. Patient drove into concrete barrier after argument with boyfriend about timeline for ending his marriage. "She tried to kill herself," I whispered. "And look at who's listed as her emergency contact on every single form," Sarah said, pointing. "Corey Jones, fiancé. Corey Jones, primary contact. Corey Jones, person authorized to make medical decisions. He signed all of these forms," Sarah continued. "Insurance authorizations, treatment approvals, psychiatric consultation consent. He's been acting as her next of kin for 3 weeks. But there was more. Dr. Chen's notes included details of conversations with Corey. Emergency contact states patient has been emotionally unstable for several months. Threatened self-harm before. Contact appears genuinely concerned, but mentions his own wife is also going through emotional difficulties and may need psychiatric evaluation. Contact suggests patient would benefit from extended inpatient mental health treatment. Extended inpatient treatment. My breath caught. "Sarah, what does extended inpatient treatment mean? For a suicide attempt, we're talking about a potential 72-hour psychiatric hold. Possibly longer." I stared at the records. "He's been positioning both of us as mentally unstable." "What do you mean?" He told the psychiatric team that his wife, me, is going through emotional difficulties. He's setting up a narrative where both women in his life are psychologically unstable. Sarah's face paled. "Christine, if he's planning to have you declared mentally incompetent, he could control everything. The house, the savings, the divorce. He could claim I'm too unstable to make rational decisions." My phone buzzed. Text from Maya. "Got the financial records. You need to see this immediately." I thanked Sarah and rushed back, where Maya had spreadsheets covering every surface. "Look at this," she said. "Bank statements from our joint savings account. 3 major withdrawals in the past month, all for medical expenses not covered by insurance." The numbers made my stomach lurch. $15,000 for psychiatric consultation, $1,000 for private room upgrade, $12,000 for experimental therapy consultation. He's been paying for private psychiatric treatment, Maya said. "But here's the interesting part. Look at what he discussed with the billing department. Wow. Mr. Jones inquired about payment plans for extended psychiatric care for 2 patients. Maya read. He specifically asked about procedures for when family members need to make financial decisions for relatives who are not mentally competent. 2 patients. He's been planning to have both of us declared mentally incompetent," I said. "Leisha because of her suicide attempt and me because of emotional difficulties during our separation. And if you're both declared incompetent, guess who gets to make all the financial and legal decisions?" The cruelty of it took my breath away. Corey hadn't just been having an affair. He'd been orchestrating a complete takeover, positioning himself as the rational, responsible man surrounded by unstable women. But he made one critical mistake, Maya said, gathering the documents. He documented everything, every signature as El Kesha's fiancé, every payment from your joint account. It's all evidence of fraud. What kind of fraud? Financial fraud, insurance fraud, and potentially guardianship fraud? He's been using your money to pay for another woman's medical care, while building a case to have you declared incompetent. That's not just adultery, Christine. That's criminal. I looked at the monitors. So what do we do now? Maya's smile was sharp and predatory. Now we turn his own plan against him. He wants to play the game of mental competency. Let's show him what a truly strategic mind looks like. How? We give him exactly what he's been planning. A public confrontation where everyone can see who's really stable and who's been living in a fantasy world. She was right. Corey had forgotten one crucial detail. The woman he was trying to destroy had 30 years of experience keeping people alive under pressure, and I was about to show him exactly what that experience looked like when the stakes were my own life. The plan Maya and I devised was elegant. Give Corey exactly what he wanted, a public forum to play the concerned husband, and then systematically destroy that narrative in front of everyone who mattered to him. We need witnesses, Maya explained. Not just family, but colleagues, friends, people whose opinions he values. I called Corey on Thursday evening, putting on the voice of a broken woman. Corey, I've been thinking. I think you're right. I think I've been holding on to something that's already over. His voice was cautious. But before we make any final decisions, I'd like to have one last family dinner to honor what we built, even if we can't save it. A long pause. What kind of dinner? Nothing big. Just your parents, my sister. A chance to tell everyone together what's happening. I think we owe them that much. I could practically hear him calculating. A gracious, mature ending to their marriage, with Corey playing the role of the patient husband. That sounds reasonable, he said finally. When? Saturday evening. I can cook one last time. Like the old days. All right, Saturday it is. What Corey didn't know was that the guest list included his law partner David Morrison, our neighbors, my nursing supervisor Jana. More importantly, Maya had arranged for her associate, attorney Rebecca Foster, to attend as a family friend. Saturday afternoon, I returned to our house. Corey and Leisha had clearly been busy. Many of my personal items were missing. Furniture had been rearranged. Christine, Corey said, his voice carefully modulated to sound concerned. You look tired. I've been doing a lot of thinking, I replied. About us, about our future, about what's best. And what have you decided? I've decided that you're right. Some things can't be saved, but I want our families to understand why. He relaxed visibly. The guests began arriving at 6. Corey played the perfect host. Where is Christine? His mother asked, looking around the living room. She's in the kitchen, Corey said with a gentle smile. She's been going through a difficult time lately. Some emotional challenges that have been hard on both of us. Emotional challenges, the groundwork, laid out perfectly in front of witnesses. At 7, I called everyone to the dining room. The table was set with our wedding china. This looks wonderful, Christine, David Morrison said. Corey's told me how much he'll miss your cooking. Has he? I said quietly. That's interesting. I wasn't aware he'd discussed our personal business with colleagues. An uncomfortable silence fell. Christine, I think people are just concerned about us, he said in that patient tone. Of course they are. That's why I asked everyone here tonight. I stood up, my hands steady, because I have some things I need to share with all of you. Christine, maybe we should... Corey started. Maybe we should what, Corey? Maybe I should continue pretending. Maybe I should keep playing the confused, emotionally unstable wife. While you rewrite our history? The dining room fell dead silent. Christine, you're not well. Everyone can see that you're struggling. What everyone can see, I interrupted, is a woman who's finally tired of being gaslit by a man who's been living a double life for 2 years. Marcus's fork clattered to his plate. What are you talking about? Instead of answering, I returned with a laptop and a speaker system. I think it's better if I show you, rather than tell you. Corey's face went white. Christine, what are you doing? I'm telling our family the truth. I pulled up the first audio file Maya had prepared. Leisha's voice filled the dining room. Who are all these people in the photos? Corey's voice followed. Just some old family stuff. We'll replace all of this with our own memories. That's Christine. She's just someone I used to know. She lived here before, but that's all over now. The silence was deafening. I watched Corey's mother's face crumple. Christine, where did you get this? Corey demanded, his composure finally cracking. From the surveillance cameras Maya and I installed in our house before I left. I gestured toward the door where Maya and Rebecca Foster had just entered. The same cameras that recorded you bringing another woman into our marriage bed. You were spying on me. I was documenting criminal behavior, Maya said, stepping forward. Financial fraud, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit guardianship fraud. She spread bank statements across the table. Corey has been using joint marital funds to pay for his girlfriend's medical expenses, while simultaneously building a case to have Christine declared mentally incompetent. David Morrison leaned forward. What kind of medical expenses? Psychiatric treatment following a suicide attempt. Rebecca Foster said. Mr. Jones has been acting as emergency contact. For Ms. Ilkesha Williams, for intentionally crashing her car. The gasps around the table were audible. Corey's father pushed back. The suicide attempt? It's not what it looks like. Corey started. It's exactly what it looks like. Maya interrupted, playing another audio file. Corey's voice. She got old. Some people just don't age well. They get comfortable. Stop being interesting. My mother-in-law made a choking sound. But that's not the worst part, I said, my voice steady. The worst part is that he's been telling medical professionals that I'm also mentally unstable. He's been positioning both of us as incompetent so he could control our finances. Rebecca Foster placed a legal document in front of Corey. These are divorce papers, already filed. Christine is citing adultery, financial fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. She's also filing criminal charges for fraud and identity theft. You can't prove any of this, Corey said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, we can. Maya held up a flash drive. 3 weeks of video and audio surveillance, showing you bringing your girlfriend into the marital home, helping her dispose of Christine's personal belongings. Marcus stood up. Dad, is this true? Have you been cheating on Mom? Son, it's complicated. It's not complicated, Jasmine said, tears streaming down her face. It's betrayal. The room erupted in voices. In the middle of it all, Corey sat frozen, watching his narrative collapse. There is one more thing, I said, and the room fell quiet again. The divorce settlement includes full custody of this house, half of all assets, and spousal support. The criminal charges include restitution for all marital funds used for his girlfriend's medical care. Rebecca Foster handed him another set of papers. You're also being served with a restraining order. As Corey read the documents, his face cycling through shock, anger, and finally, resignation. I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, complete control over my own life. The dinner was delicious, by the way, I said, gathering my purse. It's the last meal I'll ever cook for you. And with that, I walked out of the house, leaving behind a man who'd finally learned the difference between a devoted wife and someone you used to know. Months later, I sat in my new apartment, reading the final court documents that officially ended my marriage. The legal consequences for Corey were swift and devastating. The State Bar Association presented evidence of his fraudulent behavior, lying about his marital status on legal forms. Corey Jones has been permanently disbarred, Maya told me over coffee. His law license is gone, his partnership dissolved, and he owes you $180,000 in restitution. The money wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was that his ability to manipulate legal systems had been permanently taken away. What happened to the house? I asked. Sold Your half, plus the alimony settlement means you never have to work again if you don't want to. But I did want to work. Through 3 decades of nursing, caring for patients wasn't just my profession. It was who I was. I start back at County General, I told Maya. Same hospital where I met him. But this time, I'm there for me. The emotional closure had taken longer. 32 years of shared routine doesn't disappear overnight. But gradually, I began to understand the difference between a marriage certificate and true partnership. A man who can lie to his wife for years can lie to anyone about anything. The hardest part wasn't grieving the marriage. It was forgiving myself for staying blind. Because you loved him, my new therapist explained. And love makes us want to believe the best in people. That's not a weakness, Christine. That's what makes you good at caring for others. Learning to trust my instincts again took time. As for Lakeshia, I chose to see her as another victim. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned she'd entered intensive therapy. Without Corey's influence, she was finally getting the help she needed. She sends her apologies, Maya told me. Apparently, she had no idea. Corey told her you were already separated and that the divorce was just a formality. Even in his affair, Corey had been lying to everyone involved. I hope she finds peace, I said. My new beginning started small. I moved into an apartment I could afford on my nursing salary alone. I bought furniture that reflected my taste. I joined a book club, took a painting class, and started hiking. Most importantly, I learned to live for myself. The nursing supervisor position opened up at County General. I applied for a promotion based solely on my qualifications, not on what would be convenient for my husband's schedule. The job is yours, Janet told me. You've earned it. Standing in the same hospital where I'd met Corey 33 years earlier, I felt pride in my own accomplishments. That evening, I called Marcus and Jasmine. "Mom, I'm proud of you," Marcus said. "Not just for getting the promotion, but for how you handled everything. You could have fallen apart, but instead you fought back." I almost did fall apart, I admitted. But then I remembered that I've been taking care of people my whole life. It was time to take care of myself. "Do you ever regret staying with Dad for so long?" Jasmine asked. "I regret staying blind to who he really was," I said finally. "But I don't regret the life we built, because that life gave me you too. And everything I learned about love and sacrifice, all of that made me strong enough to survive losing him. As I sit here now, a year and a half after that devastating day, I want to leave you with this. If you're watching this story and your gut is telling you something's wrong in your relationship, trust that feeling. Don't make excuses for behavior that doesn't align with promises made. Don't sacrifice your peace of mind for someone else's convenience. 30 years taught me that love without respect isn't love at all. Real love doesn't require you to become smaller. Real love doesn't ask you to ignore your instincts or doubt your worth. Did you like my story? And what city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. Give us a like if you enjoyed this story. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel, Golden Age Stories. By the way, don't forget to subscribe. It encourages me to keep bringing more stories like this. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.